All right, so I'm going to read a character profile for Abraham. And remember, y'all, this is a study Bible. And Abraham's character profile talks about bold and faithful. He was bold and faithful. Remember, this is the Christian Standard Version. So what you hear may sound a little different from the regular version or the King James Version. But this is just to tell us what Abraham, who he was and what he did and what was the takeaway from his story. But it says, the Bible doesn't say why God selected Abraham to serve as the progenitor of his people, the father of all who believe. But it's likely that the man's willingness to obey, regardless of circumstances, played a role in the Lord's decision. It says Abraham's bold faithfulness and fearless approach to serving God certainly set him apart from his contemporaries. When God told Abraham to take his wife, Sarah, and his nephew Lot and leave his homeland and everything he had known for the first 75 years of his life to go to some distant land called Canaan, Abraham pulled up stakes and ventured into the unknown. So when the time came for Abraham and his nephew Lot to go their separate ways, Abraham gave his nephew first choice as to where he would settle. Lot chose the well-watered Jordan Valley near the city of Sodom. Abraham took what was left, confident that God would help him prosper regardless of Lot's selection. And God revealed his intention to destroy the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah because of the wickedness of their inhabitants. Abraham, in a stunning display of compassion and courage, humbly urged God to consider the people who weren't wicked. What if there are 50 righteous people in the city? Will you really sweep it away instead of sparing the place for the sake of the 50 righteous people who are in it? Suppose the 50 righteous lack 5. Will you destroy the whole city for lack of 5? That came from verses Genesis 18 and that came from Genesis 18 verses 24 and 28. And now it says Abraham negotiated the number down to 40, then 30, then 20. Mustering his last bit of courage, Abraham convinced God to spare the city if just 10 righteous people could be found there. It says, Alice, it turned out that not even 10 righteous people could be found in Sodom and Gomorrah. So both cities were destroyed when God caused burning sulfur to rain down on them. It says Abraham's relationship with God wasn't all peaks, of course. It says his renewed boldness and courage occasionally deserted him on his way to Canaan. For instance, Abraham had to pass through Gerar. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. It says Abraham feared that the king of the land would not. Abraham feared that the king of that land would take an interest in Sarah, who was very beautiful, and have him killed. So he told Sarah to tell the king that she was his sister and not his wife. It says Abraham followed Sarah to be taken away and allowed the king to give him flocks, herds, slaves, and camels for the privilege of marrying his sister. It says ultimately, though, the truth came out and Abraham and Sarah were sent on their way. It says, and when God promised Abraham and Sarah that they would have a son, even though they were very old, they underestimated his power to make it happen naturally. It says Sarah gave Abraham much younger handmaiden Hagar. With Hagar, Abraham produced a son and named him Ishmael. But that was not God's plan at all. It says when Sarah eventually gave birth to Isaac, conflict developed between Abraham's two families. It says the tension became so unbearable that Abraham was forced to send Hagar and Ishmael away into the wilderness where they would have to make their way on their own, with God's help, of course. It says when Abraham had an opportunity to redeem himself, however, he showed what bold faithfulness really looks like. It says God presented Abraham one day with perhaps the most gut-wrenching command in all of Scripture. It says he instructed Abraham to offer a burnt sacrifice to him. Only instead of killing a lamb for the sacrifice, Abraham was to kill his beloved son Isaac. Say Abraham didn't negotiate this time. He didn't question God or hesitate. He immediately made the necessary preparations, gathered Isaac, and set out for the place where the sacrifice was to be made. When they arrived, he prepared the altar and laid Isaac on top of it. It says Genesis 22 verses 10 through 12 picks up the story from there. It says, then Abraham reached out and took the knife to slaughter his son. But the angel of the Lord called to him from heaven and said, Abraham, Abraham. He replied, here I am. Then he said, do not lay a hand on the boy or do anything to him. For now I know that you fear God, since you have not withheld your only son for me. Abraham demonstrated the depths of his bold faithfulness under the most extreme circumstances imaginable, and he learned how generously God rewards such faithfulness when God said, I will indeed bless you and make your offspring as numerous as the stars of the sky and the sand on the seashore. Your offspring will possess the city gates of their enemies, and all the nations of the earth will be blessed by your offspring because you have obeyed my command. The takeaway is that if you know the right thing to do in a given situation, do it boldly. Don't be cowed by criticism, second guessing, or self doubt. God blesses those who are faithful to his will. So bold and faithfulness is what we're going to learn from Abraham, y'all. Bold and faithfulness. But let me just continue to read where we had left off. So this is, like I say, the Christian Standard Version. It says, so Abraham went as the Lord had told him, and Lot went with him. Abraham was 75 years old when he left Haran. He took his wife, Sarah, his nephew Lot, all the possessions that had accumulated and the people they had acquired in Haran, and they set off for the land of Canaan. When they came to the land of Canaan, Abram passed through the land to the site of Shechem at the oak of Moreh. At the time that the Canaanites were in the land, it said the Lord appeared to Abram and said, to your offspring I will give this land. So he built an altar there to the Lord who had appeared to him. From there, he moved on to the hill country east of Bethel and pitched his tent with Bethel on the west and on the east. It said he built an altar to the Lord there, and he called on the name of the Lord. Then Abraham journeyed by stages to the Negev. Now it says, and there was a famine. This is the King James Version. Now we're still in Genesis 12. I'm just reading two different versions. I'm giving the King James Version, then I'm giving the Christian Standard Version. So we can just, it's just for those who may need a better understanding of what's actually being said. It said, and there was a famine in the land, and Abram went down into Egypt to sojourn there. For the famine was grievous in the land. And it came to pass, when he was to come near to enter into Egypt, that he said unto Sarah his wife, behold, now I know that thou art a fair woman to look upon. Therefore it shall come to pass, when the Egyptians shall see thee, that they shall say, this is his wife, and they will kill me, but they will save thee alive. Say, I pray thee, thou art my sister, that it may be well with me for thy sake, and my soul shall I live because of thee. And it came to pass that when Abram was come into Egypt, the Egyptians beheld the woman, that she was very fair. The princes also of Pharaoh saw her and commended her before Pharaoh, and the woman was taken into Pharaoh's house. And he entreated Abram well for her sake, and he had sheep and oxen, and he uh, asses and manservants and maidservants and she asses and camels. And the Lord plagued Pharaoh in his house with great plagues because of Sarah, Abram's wife. And Pharaoh called Abram and said, what is this that thou hast done unto me? Why didst thou not tell me that she was thy wife? Why saidst thou she is my sister, so I might have taken her to me too. So I might have taken her to me to wife. Now therefore, behold thy wife, take her and go thy way. And Pharaoh commanded his men concerning him, and I sent him away and his wife and all that he had. I'm just gonna read, the version, the more simplified version. Excuse me. So it says there was a famine in the land, so Abraham went down to Egypt to stay there for a while because the famine in the land was severe. When he was about to enter Egypt, he said to his wife Sarah, look, I know what a beautiful woman you are. When the Egyptians see you, they will say, this is his wife. They will kill me, but let you live. Please say you're my sister, so it will go well for me because of you, and my life will be spared on your account. When Abram entered Egypt, the Egyptians saw that the woman was very beautiful. Pharaoh's officials saw her and praised her to Pharaoh. So the woman was taken to Pharaoh's household. He treated Abraham well because of her. And Abraham acquired flocks and herds, male and female donkeys, male and female slaves and camels. But the Lord struck Pharaoh and his household with severe plagues because of Abraham's wife Sarah. So Pharaoh sent for Abram and said, what have you done to me? Why didn't you tell me she was your wife? Why did you say she's my sister so that I took her as my wife? Now here's your wife. Take her and go. Then Pharaoh gave his men orders about him, and they sent him away with his wife and all he had. So that's gonna be it for today, y'all. Later on today, I'm gonna share Genesis 13, and it talks about when Abram and Lot separate. And I'm gonna continue to read the King James version, then I'm gonna give the Christian Standard version because I want people to be able to hear both versions, because some of us may be used to, the original version of the Bible, and some of us may need to hear it in a way where we can get a better understanding of what is being told. So that's gonna be how I'm gonna do these videos from now on. Give you guys the King James version, and give you all a more simplified version. Just so we can get a better understanding of what God is really saying. But I love y'all, and I'll see you all later, and have a blessed day.